Hi, yo, what's up? So the arena end of the season is currently approaching, and it is actually ending in 3 days right now on June 26th. And since I did a decent amount of arenas, both normal and ranked arenas, I figured that I would simply talk about my experience and what worked for me in arenas. And I think overall this knowledge could be valuable because I'm assuming that after the season 2, we're gonna get the season 3, and also in 3 days on June 26th, we should also get the new uh, 6v6 PvP event that it is supposed to be some sort of similar to arenas. So we don't know much about it, but that's kind of the only thing that we know. It's going to be the same format than a 3v3, but instead of being 3v3, that's going to be 6v6. So we'll see how that goes, obviously, but I'm going to talk about what my expectation and what we might see in the 6v6. And so currently, if we look at my stats right now, this is the individual matches, the 3v3s and arenas. And so I'm currently, as of right now, rank 59. And so usually it's the end of the season, so people might go up, might go down. I don't know, bro. So it changed a lot. And I currently have a 2050 ranking. And in season 2, I only played as a healer, and so as a seeker, basically it's a healer, and so you can see my stats here. And usually I try to have 2 times as much victories compared to my defeats. So that's kind of what it is. And I also played Arena Season 1, and in Season 1 I played as an Invocator, and I think at the end of the season I ended up being a Commissioner as well, but I think I managed to get to rank 300 something in Season 1, so overall I think I really enjoy Arenas. I think 3v3 is a cool PvP mode, and the cool thing that I love about it is I can queue at any moment, and I'm gonna do some PvP, and I just think it's pretty fun. Another cool thing that they had in season 2 is that now you can actually get rewards with the victory reward, and so every time that you win an arena, you get some small victory, and so it depends on your ranking, obviously. So it usually gives a bunch of runes, and I think in the beginning of the season it was pretty cool because it was a good way to level up my runes. So the fact that they added this, I think that's really really cool. And so especially in the beginning of the season, I was compelled to actually do that. And if we look quickly at the ranking right now, we can see that not many people managed to get to the Imperator ranking. And so I think right now I see 18 people on the Imperator ranking, and then yeah, rank 18. Maybe the more people will get to level up. I don't know. And then if we look at the commissioners right now, it's about rank 110, and so there you go. It starts at 200, and so everything under, maybe some more people will level up as well. And so overall, I think way less people manage to get to the commissioner rank. Maybe we have less people in the game, and so obviously it's going to reflect in the ranking as well. So as of right now, I'm a commissioner. So at the end of the season in 3 days, I'm expecting these little rewards from the season completion reward, and so I'm gonna get some arena coins. I don't really care about those, honestly. I don't think they're that valuable anymore. So that's kind of what it is. I mean, I'm gonna get a title here, Arena's Legend S2, and so I think that's fine. And I'm also gonna get these nebula chests here, and these chests, it only contains nebula accessories, but I just wish that it was selection based instead of chance based. And so that's kind of what I think. The fact that it's chance based, I just think it's a little bit frustrating. So we'll see what happens in 3 days. And to be honest, I think I could have reached a higher ranking, and if you look at my history right here, you can see that I was still winning a bunch of matches. But in reality, what happened is that about a month ago, I stopped doing arenas. And so if you look at my last ranked arena, it was actually a month ago on the May 25th. And so that's kind of what it is. And so later in the video, I'm going to talk about the things I don't like about arenas. But I think I'm not sure if I was given false information or something, but I initially thought that the end of the season was actually uh, on May 26th. So not exactly sure what happened, but it's actually in 3 days right now on June 26th. All right, so quickly, what is an arena? And so as of right now, arenas are 3v3 PvP content. And so while this is PvP content, it is not exactly like GVGs and large scale. It is much more small scale. And so because of that, every time that I do arena, I usually have a different build than, let's say, GVGs and normal PvP. And so I usually have a build, especially for arenas. And so as of right now, you can queue as both solo and also as a team. And overall, the rules are pretty simple. The teams that have the most points win. And so every time that your team kills somebody, then your team wins some point, and then the opposite team loses some point, and also vice versa. And so if the opposite team is killing one of your teammates, then they're getting points and you're losing points. And so again, at the end of the team with the most points wins. And also a very important thing to note is that at the end of the arena, like the last minute, it is much more important because all the points are doubled. And so there's this thing called looting mode, and so the last minute is very, very important. Another important thing to note as well is that the moment you get into an arena, everybody gets a debuff, a healing debuff that basically reduce all the healing received. And so as you can see right here, there's a debuff right here, and so everybody has it. And so not many people seem to know this. I mean, in my case, I know because I play a healer, and so it's actually very important. And so I'm not sure if we're gonna have this debuff in the 6v6, but since this is going to be a 6v6 and there's only going to have one healer, and so as of right now in GVGs it's a common thing to have two healers per party, but in the 6v6 events we only gonna have one healer. And so if all the healing received are reduced by 30%, I think that's pretty huge. And so that's gonna make a huge difference. Another important thing to know also about arenas is that some weapons have limitations to make the arena more enjoyable. And so for example, I think the SNS is limited to only one per arena, and it's also the same thing for the one. And so I think that the DPS weapons might be different. And so in that case, in arenas, you cannot have two healers and you cannot have two tanks. And as of right now, there are two maps for arenas, and I'm not sure if they're going to add more. They haven't talked about it, but there it is. And so the first map is what I call the round map. And so of the two maps, I think this is probably the simplest, because in this map you're actually able to do some PvP. And so in this map, I don't think there's much to say about this map because you simply hook into the arena, and it's a simple round arena. And so usually what I found is that in this map, it's usually the team that deals the most damage that wins, because there's nothing else really to do in this map. There's nowhere to hide, there's no line of sight, there's no LOS, there's no way to push people down, there's no way to use elevation to your advantage. And so what I found is that it's mostly a DPS meter, plain and simple. And overall, I think it's a little bit boring. I wish it was a little bit more interesting, but of the two maps, I think it's still my favorite because the other one is the complete opposite. So for the second map, this is the map that I called the swimming simulator, the arena with the water. And so in this arena, I'm not exactly sure what the developers were smoking when they created this arena, but out of the two maps, this is by far my least favorite, and it is because it is way too complex. And so when you play in this map, your worst enemies are not the opposite players. I mean, yes, you're gonna fight them or whatever, but in reality, your worst enemy in this map is the map itself. And I think that's a little bit annoying because when I want to do PvP, I want to do player versus player. I want to do PvP. But when I play in this map, it is not player versus player. It is actually player versus arena. Your worst enemy is the arena in this map. And I call it a swimming simulator because in this map, the most effective way to win is to send people swimming. And so, as you can see, there are water in this map, there are alls, and so the most effective strategy in this map is to play the SNS and to simply push people down. You pull people down, and so this way you're able to create a situation where it's 3v2 or maybe even 3v1, and so that way you're able to get the kills. And so in this map it is way less about the DPS meter. I mean, obviously it's quite important, but it's mostly about playing the map to your advantage. And so as you can see, in this map there are many alls, and so obviously you have to be careful, and you can push people down, you can pull people down, and one very important thing as well is that you might want to be careful if you're playing a dagger, because if you shadow strike on your enemy and if the enemy is too close to the edge, then you might fall off in the water. And so there you go, swimming simulator. And I'm not sure, but maybe precision dash can also happen. Another thing to keep in mind as well is that you can see the boxes are sometimes moving, and so again it just adds more complexity to the map. Alright, so right now I wanted to talk about the most valuable classes in Arena, and usually it's also reflected in the ranking here, and the meta is a little bit different than, let's say, GVG in large scale PvP, because in Arena it's much more small scale, and so usually melee, everything that is melee is usually quite good. And having classes that are able to 1v1 or that have very high burst potential and even possibly one-shot people usually do very well. And so I think the best DPS classes are Ravagers and Scorpions, but anything that have the Great Sword is able to do very well, because I think the Great Sword has a very high burst potential, and so I love having Great Swords in my party in arenas. And so again, Scorpions and Ravagers are probably the best. And so if you look at the ranking here, most of the DPS, Fierce, I think he's playing Scorpions usually in arena, but most of the top DPS are usually Scorpions. I think this guy is usually playing Spellblade. Same for Ab. I think Ab is also playing Spellblade, and that's kind of what it is. And so the best classes are Ravagers and Scorpions, and then Gladiators also do very well. Spellblades also do very well. Now I'm not exactly sure how that's gonna change with the 6v6 format, and also with the meta that is consistently changing, but I'm assuming that I'm gonna see more Liberators and also maybe more Shadow Dancers, and so I think those can be more valuable classes, maybe with a small Zarg or whatever with 6 people, and maybe we'll see more classes that I'm not used to see. I'm not exactly sure, but one thing that I'm not expecting is that I don't think that we're gonna see that many Raiders, and I don't think we're gonna see many Templars and many Dark Blighter, because the thing with Raiders, Templars, and also Dark Blighter is that they waste the SNS and the wand of your party. And so since you're only limited to one SNS and you're only limited to one wand, I think it is probably preferable to have your SNS as a tank, maybe some blood devotions, maybe some pulls, some push and pulls, whatever, collision. And also you probably want your wand to be a healer, and so if you're wasting your wand on a DPS class, I think that's a waste. And so obviously you want your healer to be an actual healer, and you want the tank to be an actual tank. Alright, so now I wanted to talk some potential issues that I could see happening in Arena, and also some reasons that made me stop playing arenas like a month ago. And so I'm assuming that those potential issues could be valuable for future seasons, and also maybe for the 6v6 event. And so the first issue that I could see happening is obviously the gear. And so the gear is obviously very relevant in Arena, because the better gear that you have, the more powerful you are as a player. And so if you're more powerful as a player, then you have a higher chance to win. And so now, to be honest, I think we're quite deep into T2, so I'm assuming that most people already have some sort of decent build. I mean, maybe they're not fully geared, but they're working on it, and they're like working on it every day or whatever. And so if you're a little bit behind, then I'm assuming that it could be more difficult for you to compete in arena and also in 6v6. Now, the second thing that I wanted to talk about is the rewards. And so, as I've said before, I used to do a lot of arenas because it was a way for me to farm uh, the rune chest. And so here with the commissioner and also with the previous rank, you're able to farm these rune chests. And so for me, it was quite relevant. But right now, I've been capped on most of my runes for a while, and so if we look at my runes, most of them are already level 80, and so like there's no need for me to farm the rune chest anymore, and so uh, it's not really relevant anymore. So I'm not exactly sure if they can make the victory rewards maybe more appealing. I mean, I think the chaos runes and the loyalty coins can be valuable, but the thing is that the chaos runes are quite rare, and then the loyalty coins, I mean, I guess it's fine, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to farm them. So that's kind of what it is. You kind of want the rewards to be decent enough for people to keep farming them, and so hopefully we're gonna see that happening. Now for this season completion reward, I already talked a little bit about them, but I mean the arena coins is just whatever. I don't really care about them. I think the titles and the mounts can be pretty cool. I mean it's just some unique stuff that is bound to your account now, so that's kind of cool. And the Nebula chest, in the beginning, I thought that was pretty cool because in the beginning of T2, Nebula accessories were so rare that I was like, oh shit, we're able to get some accessories that are so rare or whatever. But now that the season is about to end, I feel like the Nebula chests are quite underwhelming, and mostly because it is chance based instead of being selection based. And so the fact that is chance based, I just find it so frustrating because you see over time I managed to get a bunch of accessories, and even like if you check at the weekly missions, you're able to get some Nebula accessories. They're basically given to you here, and so uh, I just wish that the Nebula accessories were selection chests instead, because like at this point most of the people that reached commissioner or even like imperator here, they farmed for months, they farmed for hours and months, and they probably have hundreds of games played. And so the fact that they're not even sure of the reward, I just think that just give it selection, just make us choose our reward. I just think that would be better. In fact, now that I'm a commissioner, I would much prefer having one accessory that I can choose than two random accessory that I would probably never use or need. So that's kind of how I feel about the rewards. Now the third issue that I could see happening is one of the reasons that I stopped doing arenas is because the tournament started happening as well. And so because of the tournament, I wanted to focus on the PvP, I wanted to focus on the GVG, I wanted to practice with my guild. And so my point here is that if there are major events happening or maybe new content happening, it will obviously distract players from other pieces of content. And so if I'm busy doing this, then I'm not doing that. I mean, I think it's completely normal, but it's still an issue. But to be honest, I'm quite happy to have arenas because I know that it's a content that you can just queue, you can just get in, do some cool PvP, and it's not time gated in any way. I mean, yes, there's a time gate here, you're limited to 10 wins or whatever, but you can still queue even though there's no reward, and so I think that's quite cool. Another issue that I could see happening is the repetitiveness of the players, and so One thing that I saw happening while I was doing arenas is that you often end up playing again with and against the same people over and over again. I'm not exactly sure if it's because of the matchmaking. I'm not exactly sure if it's because of the lack of players, but ideally you want enough people so that you're always playing with different people. You want people to queue up and you want to play with different people, you want to play against different people to simply make it interesting. Because when you play against the same people, I think it becomes a little bit uh, boring and a little bit uninteresting, and so that's kind of what I think. One issue that we could see happening is related to rules of the arena. And so somewhere in season 2, I'm not exactly sure when, but I think it was after I stopped playing, and I think I noticed a change in the rules and also in the functioning of the points in the arena. And so again, I'm not exactly sure what happened because I haven't seen anything announced related to this. But you see, a few months ago, you can see this video right here from Spartia. That was a month ago. When the match finished, it was quite normal to see games around 189 and 74. So the numbers were really high. But then, if we look at a game that I recorded literally yesterday, the game finished 6-2. So I'm not exactly sure if something changed along the way, but it feels to me that the points, the systems of the points and how they work, they change a little bit. And so obviously, I don't think you should make that many changes to the rules during the piece of content or even maybe the arena season, because it's just not fun. It's just like, why are you changing the rules? Like, something that worked before is no longer the case today. So I think that if you're going to make changes to the rules, I mean, at least wait for the end of the event or maybe the end of the season to make it happen. Another issue that we might see in Arena and that we saw very recently with the tournament is the meta. And so in the last weeks and during the tournament, the meta changed so many times, so it can be very confusing if you're doing a piece of content or if you're doing a tournament and if you're trying to be competitive in PvP. And so right now, I haven't played ranked arenas for about a month, and I'm not even sure how Seekers perform in arenas anymore. And so I play Seeker. I used to play a build. I used to heal in arenas, but now I don't know how they're going to perform in arena because they changed so many things. Maybe new classes are relevant. They also nerfed the healing to the Seekers. And yes, some of these changes might generally be needed, but the thing is that if you change the meta and if you change the classes during uh, an arena season, well, people might get mad because, again, something that worked in the past is no longer working. And we saw that exactly during the Blue Squadron tournament. And, so many guilds practice doing GVGs just for a meta to completely change and to become completely different. Well, it's kind of the same thing in arena. I mean, if you change the meta during the arena season, then it can be problematic because maybe in the beginning of the season, the Seeker is really good, but then after the healing nerf, maybe it's actually so bad that that it's gonna change everything. And so obviously, if the meta is changing, that's also going to influence the ranking of the arena. And so because of that, I probably think that it would be better to make huge important changes to classes between arena seasons, because this way you're able to protect the arena ranking. And so one arena season is attached to one meta, and then the next arena season is going to be attached to another meta. And so finally, the last issue that I experienced, and this one is mostly true for ranked arenas, maybe less for normal arenas, and it is queue time. And so this one is probably it's probably the main reason why I stopped doing ranked arenas. And so for me, the queue time to get into a ranked arena was getting way too long. And so in my case, it was very common to wait 20 or maybe even 30 minutes just simply to get into PvP content, this arena that only lasts 5 minutes. An arena only lasts 5 minutes. And so I reached a point where I was no longer able to justify waiting this amount of time just for a 5-minute content. And so I think I was able to do like 2 or 3 arenas per hour, and so I think that it's a quite bad ratio, and it just started to make me sick. And so I'm not exactly sure if it's because Throne and Liberty is dying. I mean, I know that it's losing a lot of players right now, and maybe people simply had other priorities in the game, you know, just like me, there was a tournament, maybe it's like the other events or whatever, and so maybe that's one of the reason. Maybe my ranking is getting too high also, that the matchmaking is becoming more and more difficult, and so because of that I have to wait more to get into a match. Maybe it's a bunch of different reasons, but overall I think the queue times, especially for ranked arenas, is just getting way too long. So I'm not exactly sure if that's going to apply in the future, in the other arena seasons. I don't know if that's going to apply for the 6v6, because technically 6v6 you need more people to get into an arena, and so obviously you need 12 people to get into a match, while the arena 3v3, normal 3v3, that's only 6 people. And so since we need more people, is it going to take more time? So we'll see. Alright, so right now, to simply compare and simply give us an idea, I wanted to simply measure how much time it takes to get into a normal arena compared to ranked arena, and simply how they compare. Okay, so I have the game right here on the left, and then I have a chronometer on the right. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna start the normal matchmaking. I'm gonna start the stopwatch and see how long it takes to get it to an arena. Alright, so it took me about 25 minutes to simply get the normal matchmaking queue. Now, to be honest, I was expecting it to be way faster than this. I was expecting a few minutes. So it took me about 25 minutes. I'm gonna reject that. Sorry to those people. I hope they're not waiting as much as I do. Okay, I'm gonna have to wait, that's fine. So since an arena lasts for only 5 minutes, the fact that I have to wait 25 minutes to get into an arena, this means I have to wait 5 times more than the an actual gameplay of an arena. So I think this is pretty bad. Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna reset the timer and I'm gonna try the ranked arena. So I'm kind of scared about that. Let's see. Alright, so currently my ranked matchmaking is still in progress, and it's been right now 30 minutes, more than 30 minutes, and that's exactly what I mean. And right now, one thing to consider is that this is Sunday around noon, and so maybe it's not the right time to actually queue some arenas. Maybe prime time would actually be better, but I expected my queues to be faster than this. I mean, it's still the weekend, but you know, it's kind of illustrating my point. Like, I'm not getting enough queues to actually make it worth my time. So I'm gonna stop the timer right now. I mean, I'm just gonna stop right now. It's wasting my time. I'm gonna cancel the queue. So there you go. I'm not getting queues. I'm not getting enough queues. So that's pretty much everything that I had to say about arenas and the season 2. And there's not much information about the new upcoming 6v6 arena, but I'm assuming it's going to be pretty similar to the current arenas that we have. And so we'll see what happens. I hope that it's going to be successful, because I love this kind of content. And so that's pretty much for this video. So we'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.